I am informed that we are running behind time, but I will take two more. Yes, my sister?
Okay, Kalen Karemi, the Vice Chair of the East African University. Mine is on what you have said about the private universities. For example, let me give you a case of myself. I studied in the village a day school. Let me recognize the school St. James Kiarida. At that time, when I managed to get a C+ to join the university, but when I was going to apply through the COOPs, my C+ could only admit me to a private university. So you find most people, the cluster point is high for the public universities. And yet, they will be, when they are going to apply, they will be placed in the private universities. And you have said you can't offer the scholarship. Right now, for me to pay the 19,000 that I'm paying in the private university I am, my parents are really struggling. That is for a fact. What if that parent of that student in the same case as mine, who is in a day school, is going to pay the same 80,000, 90,000? With that student manage, that the student can't manage, because the cluster point for the public university are that high. So what are you going to do about the cluster point? And then I'll go to question on the burden. We say, for example, a Maasai who stays at Narok. That person owns 100 cows. When I'm going to apply for that as where I studied in a day school, I'll be placed in band 1. And 100, you sell that cow for 50,000. The net worth of that person is 5 million. And that person will be placed in band 1. Reason being, the person is from the Maasai. They are known for those people who doesn't have, sorry to say that. Sorry to say that. And yet, when that person doesn't have a KRA to feel about the parent when applying for the help or whatever, and yet that person net worth is 5 million, and that person will be placed at band 1. And then there's a case, someone from JQuad said that person is earning 25K. Are we fair on that? Yes, that is my question on the cluster point and the...
Thank you. Thank you, Karemi. I think we give this chance to a gentleman.
Thank you so much. I'm Vincent Tarus, the president of Moi University, and I'm also a finalist doing medicine and surgery. Okay, thank you so much. Number one, Mr. President, I'm really not happy at how we were discussing figures of expensive courses. Yes, it's true that the government is paying a lot for students doing the expensive courses, but we also have to look at it from the student side. And these are the figures. I'm going to use figures for a student doing dentistry. And of course, with these figures, you could estimate those who are doing medicine, engineering, and all those expensive courses. A student in band 1, the one who is very vulnerable, is going to pay 39,000 shillings. Remember that at the moment, we are paying less than that. We are paying 32,000, 33, up to 40, and now a student in band 1 is going to pay 39,000. My cue, the conception of the new funding model is on the basis of assisting the poor. Number 2, a student in band 2 is going to pay 78,000 shillings. A student in band 3 is going to pay 156,000. A student in band 4 is going to pay 234,000. And a student in band 5, 312,000. Now, already we can see and have the impression that expensive courses, or rather, the courses that are expensive to offer will only be for the rich. Because we can all agree that a student in Band 2, Band 1, Band 3, and Band 4, they are all poor. Now, who are going to afford these courses? Mr. President, when we had a meeting at State House, you said that you're going to put a ceiling over which the vulnerable are going to pay. Yes, that is only going to sort those who are in Band 1. I'm assuming it will be way less than 39,000. Now, we have sorted those ones. What about the majority? Because, Mr. President, the majority of students are in Band 4 with a figure of 47%. If I can use figures of last year's group. These are the figures I got from HELB, that of 113,000 students who applied, 47% are in Band 4. And I can use as a case in my school, Mr. President. We have students who, up to now, they were just allowed to do the exam without paying fees. But really, the truth is, they won't be able to pay these fees come end of year examinations. And what will be the fate of schools that we are so much trying to salvage? We are going to have so many dropouts, Mr. President. And these figures I'm using is for the School of Dentistry. Now we have the School of Engineering and the School of Medicine, the School of Nursing. I thank you, Professor, for the figures. But the figures are too high. And this dream is only going to be for the rich. Now, Mr. President, because we value consultation, I'm going to propose an affirmative action that we have to scrap off the idea that these courses are for the rich. If these courses were for the rich, Mr. President, I don't think you'll be standing there where you are right now. And I don't think all these dignitaries will be seated there where they are right now if these courses were for the rich. Now, allow me to propose an affirmative action that we give more scholarship to these courses so that everyone can be able to afford. The children of the peasant farmers, the children of the poor, the mamamboga, that this administration was built in, allow us to have something, allow them an ability to dream of these courses and pursue them. The issue of loans, Mr. President, that has been spoken about enough. The reason why we are rejecting this new funding model, Mr. President, is because we feel the burden of loans on our backs at the moment. I could only imagine those who would join after us and the generations to come. Yes, you said, Mr. President, that it is better to have loans and educated than not having loans and educated, and not having loans and non-educated. But those are not the two options that we have, Mr. President. We can have a discussion of how we can balance both so that we can come up with a system that values everyone, a system that accommodates everyone. And until then, Mr. President, allow me to reject this new funding model respectfully.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tarus. I don't know. Let me answer those questions. I think they are quite a buffet.
Mr. President, I've been given one last concern. Okay. It reads.
Yes.
Please, okay. The issue of student independence and admin stepping on student leaders. I think this is addressed to all our vice chancellors, the management of our schools. Kindly allow student leaders to run the activities with the autonomy that they deserve. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tarus. Let me start with Mongezi from Moranga University. I think, she suggested that why don't we consolidate all bursaries? The ones for the MCA, Member of Parliament, Women Rep, Governor. Somebody suggested that I have some bursary. I don't have. Just for the record, I don't have any bursary kitty. In fact, when I was Minister for Higher Education, there was a bursary at the ministry. And that bursary used to benefit people who have connection. The CEO of HELP then knows. I said that bursary should be transferred. It used to be 100 million shillings every year. I said that bursary should be transferred to Higher Education Loans Board. In fact, it is the money that began the capitation and scholarship for our TVET institutions. I agree with you that it's a positive proposition. It is something that we need to have a conversation about. It is something that I will engage governors about, because in our constitution, it is the counties. Once money has been given to the counties, I have no authority as president to decide for the counties. But I think a national conversation that consolidates all these bursaries, and then we see how far it can go towards making our education affordable, is a very positive conversation. I am ready to engage in that conversation and provide leadership in that conversation. My good friend Gishangi from JKUAT has asked me, why the rush? I am tempted to say that, if the situation our universities were in is not serious to warrant us to have this conversation, and by the way, it took 6 months to 8 months of a conversation with different professionals. It was not something that it was over one night or a weekend or a week. It is something that was very clearly thought out. And you said something like, we make promises that we never keep. Let me tell you, this is one commitment I made. The universities are here. The vice chancellors are here. They can tell you the commitments I made on this model were delivered last year, and it is making a difference in our universities. That is the reality. You did say that corruption is a big problem, and I agree with you 100%. Corruption is a big problem. And I want to thank the university leadership, because part of the corruption that has been going on is on even the money that we give to universities. We decided that we are going to go using technology. I'm very happy that the university leaders accepted that we use technology. Unfortunately, our secondary schools and primary schools took us to court. They still want to deal in cash. And I know we lose a lot of money there. Corruption is something we must deal with it firmly. I have made proposals on what we should do as a nation. I have had conversations with the Chief Justice. I have had conversations with the leadership of Parliament on what we need to do on legislation to make sure that we deal with corruption. But we can also, corruption is not just about jailing people. It is about putting systems in place that make sure that corruption doesn't happen. And one of them is to use technology to make sure that we are sure of what we are doing. And that is what this whole system and what we are doing with HELP and what we are doing with COOPS and what we are doing with our universities is all about. I have made it very clear, and I have asked sometimes we investigate an incident or a corruption case, and people rush to court, and we are given an order, you cannot investigate so-and-so. We have situations where we have been told, you cannot charge so-and-so. They've gone to court and obtained an order. We must interrogate corruption so that we make sure that we deal with it from all angles. You have given a case of when somebody has 50,000 or earns 50,000 or 25,000 and they have siblings in university. Maybe they have one student in JKUAT, they have another student in another university. Higher Education Loans Board, can you help me explain how do we treat that parent? Mr. Gishangi wants to know what category is that student? Can you help me?
Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity. I'm not working for HELP, but I am a member of MTI Task Force and a lecturer at Laikipia University. My name is Dr. Alex Kibet, and I'm going to explain my understanding of this MTI. From the question that was asked was, how do we treat someone who has a lot of dependencies? And from the questions that an applicant is asked is, how many dependents do you have? And the main reason why you're required to give that particular response is so that the MTI can be able to calculate a per capita of that particular household before, which is going to be used as an input for determining your score, and which is going to be used as an input for your final score that determine where you will be banded. And maybe to just say something, Mr. President, as an addition to what you have said. They have indicated, or you have indicated, that there are 10 indicators that show, or that are used, or that work as a variable. There are actually 10 super variables that are used to determine your level of need. But in reality, with each super, there are several other sub-indicators. For example, a family structure, for instance, which is, it has a variable on, you have both parents, you have a single parent, which is a mother, a single parent, which is a father, all the way to someone who is an abandoned child in the street. And all of them are taken care of. So that when all these factors, from the general super variable to sub-variables, the MTI makes sure that you are classified correctly. The only challenge, my president, that we experienced, because I was at least part of the team that analyzed the information, is the quality of information that our applicants provide for that particular system. This is a system that whatever comes out of it depends on what we input. So if we don't provide the correct information, then we're going to be banded wrongly. And because we are coming from a point that this is a new system, one of the recommendations that we gave to HELP and higher education was, please leave a room so that if there is anyone who may have submitted wrong information can still re-provide an information that can be used for reconsideration. And that is why there is an open appeal for a fund, that if you have a different information from what you presented, you can re-provide and you can be reconsidered. And from the first information you've been given is within the next 3 weeks, that is going to be reconsidered. There's something else again, Mr. President, that I would also wish to state. There's something on what if a situation changes in your course of your studies? How are you going to be taken care of? Let's say today you have both parents, and at the second year of your studies, something happens. Again, that is a factor that during our task force we considered and said, if a circumstance change, like your parents, guardian loses job, your parent loses job, you lose parents, you can re-provide the information that please reconsider my banding or my categorization so that I can have a space or be treated where I am supposed to be. There are some other small recommendations that we have suggested to them, and we hope they are going to work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Do you have anything useful to add, Mr. Kingori?
No, Your Excellency. I think Dr. Kibet has said it well.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that is the information, Mr. Gishangi. You have also told me that there are people who masquerade as representative of students. And they have come to say we represent. I want to tell you, for the avoidance of any doubt, that any student I have met, they haven't said they represent anybody, at least to me. If they have told other people, I don't know. So I believe that every university has its own representation, right? And I have heard everybody here who has spoken, they have said, I am president of this college, vice president of that college. I have not heard anybody here saying, I am the president of all the universities. Or maybe I didn't, maybe it escaped my thinking, my listening. So I don't think there is anybody who has come to me to say they represent all the students of the universities. And if you are asking me that you want a representative body of all the students, that is a conversation I'm willing to have. And the universities, the leadership of universities should be part of that conversation so that we can all agree what mechanism are we going to use. Are we going to have elections in some form? Because, I mean, we are a democracy. Or how are we going to get a student leadership that represents our universities? That is a conversation that we can have. Somebody has told me, are you the one who said students who differ? There's somebody who told me about students who differ. Yes. So what is the situation of students who differ? I am not, yes, help, Higher Education Laws Bond, can you help me there?
Your Excellency, students who differ, the case of KCSE 2022, were all allowed to apply. So far, we have received 9,979 students from KCSE 2022, and this process is ongoing. So no student has been left behind. Thank you.
Now, has he answered the question? Okay, what is the question? The question is, maybe a student who was already admitted, was in first year, instead of going to second year, they deferred, and then, is that the case? Okay, which model? Are they coming? Okay, I think what the question is, those ones who you are now considering, are you considering them under the old model or are you considering them under the new model?
They are being considered under the new model.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the model started considering students from KCSE 2022. If you are from the previous years, that is KCSE 2021, 2020, and the previous years, then you fall into the old model.
Thank you very much. Now, my good friend Gishangi says he wants to replace my friend Karungo Dangwa. I wish you well. I know you have said that if I behave well, you might consider your vote for me in 2027. But Mr. Gishangi, I want to tell you that my focus is not in 2027. That's not my focus. My focus is in transforming Kenya. That is my focus. You know, there is always, a belief that we must focus on the next election. Good people, there is more than the next election. We need to do and make the right decisions for Kenya now. If we make decisions merely because we want to be popular, that's how we get ourselves into the kind of situation our country is. That's where we end with our universities in so much debt, because we are unable to make the decisions that will get our universities out of trouble. My sister, younger sister, Agneta, I like the name, by the way. Agneta, she's wondering why is only 12% considered in band 1, when actually majority of the people in Kenya, or a big portion, are poor. You know why, Agneta? Many of the children of the poor don't make it to university. That's the problem. And that's what concerns me. I explained to you, that the most disturbing thing is that the children of the poor are not in this conversation. And that is why, and it really bothers me, that is why I made the decision that I am going to hire the largest number of teachers. I'm going to put more money, invest more money in those schools where the children of the poor are, so that we give them an equal chance for them to be part of this conversation. I know it's not a very popular thing, but that's the correct position. That's why I'm going to hire another 20,000 teachers, God willing, by the end of this year. The same way I hired the 56,000, to send them to all these day schools and schools in those rural areas and all those day schools, to make sure that the children of the poor also make it to get to the university, so that they can come and sit here and have this conversation with the rest of us. That's my position. Let me also say the following. You have told me, and I agree, you're very sympathetic to my case, that we have said, let the students be admitted. Let all the students be admitted, even as we sort out the issues of how much they are going to pay, how much the households are going to pay. And we have said that, recognizing that it is something we must do. You have said, how then are the universities going to pay? If the students don't pay, if the households don't pay, how will the universities survive? How will they pay for the essentials? Agneta, we are going to give money to our universities because we are giving money on scholarships. by government, even as parents sort themselves out as to whether they are in band 1, band 2, band 3, and the appeals and what have you. As that is going on, we are going to support the universities to make sure that the courses and learning continues from the government support that comes as scholarship, and also from our Higher Education Loans Board, and they are here. They are going to be forwarding the money that is on the loans aspects to the universities as well. So that's how we are going to support the universities. You have said something about there are some situations that marriages break, and I think the two gentlemen have already answered that question, that if your situation changes along the way, you are free to bring back your new status so that you can be reconsidered accordingly. Nick Okoth, twins joining university. Higher Education Loans Board, if we have twins joining university, what is the situation?
There was a question when they were filling the form, and they were asked, do you have a sibling joining university or TVET college? And if they said yes, they were supposed to input either the ID or the index number if they were minors.
And that goes into considering where they are placed.
Yes, because we score them up to 100, and that would give them another 29 points to move towards band 1.
Okay. Faustin Wandera from Nazarene University. You told me that you feel the universities are being... I have tried to explain that the private universities have sponsors, they have endowment funds, they have scholarships from different other avenues, and considering that we also know that there are students there who deserve support from government, we have made the same loans available to students going to public be available also to students in private universities. I'm very happy that you have ideas on how we can make the scholarship work. I am willing to listen to those ideas. I know you have invited me to some form of Harambe or something. I think we have since said we should abolish Harambes or something. We are on the way there. So, or maybe you are suggesting that some private sponsorship of students in the university. That one, you can take it up with me offline. It cannot be a conversation here. We can have a conversation in another place. Omar, sorry. Omar, it looks like he has left. Oh, you're there. Okay, you put on you put on a different outfit. Intra-school transfers. Omar says there are students who maybe because they are not sure of how things are, they apply for one course, and then when they get to the university, they want to change their courses, and in the process, they get lost somewhere, and their issues are not sorted out. Higher Education Loans Board, again, can you help me with that situation? Why does it take so long when students change courses and they are approved by the universities?
Your Excellency, what would happen is that the list of the students who have transferred will be forwarded to COOPS for validation. And after COOPS validates that they have transferred to a program they qualify for, then they would upload in our portal and our system would pick it. So maybe that lag can take a month or so, and that could be affecting the students. But we are going to improve this year. We are going to talk with COOPS so that we can improve that process.
When you say you're going to improve that process, Omar would want to know, it now takes a month. He says it takes 3 months. What are you estimating that it's going to take? Are you able to give us a shorter time frame, or we give you time to think about it?
I think it's even engineering has been done where COOPs, I'm sorry, I'm talking on behalf of COOPs, have availed the transfer module to the universities. I don't know whether the Vice Chancellors can confirm that. So now you don't have to send documents to COOPs. The Vice Chancellors will log in and effect the transfer there, and they validate in real time.
As a way of managing that losing of time?
Yes, sir.
Can a Vice Chancellor confirm whether that is the case, one who has experienced such a case? Where is the Vice Chancellor? Yes, there is a mic behind you.
Your Excellency, my name is Professor Biambo, Vice Chancellor, Meru University. I would like to confirm that that is true. We can now transfer online, and it's done real time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Why should the whole fee reflect instead of the household? Just hold on, Omar. I'm still answering your questions. Just tuliza boli kidogo. Omar is asking why should the whole fee reflect? All he wants is the fee to reflect on what the household is supposed to contribute. I think initially the letters that went out had the full fee, the cost of the course, and that is what brought a lot of confusion. The ministry then instructed, and I think the PS can speak to this. Yes, PS.
Your Excellency, there had been a lot of confusion in terms of what the students contribute in terms of fees as compared to the actual cost of the programs. So we thought it was important to share this information so that students can appreciate that a course like medicine, for example, is 612,000, but the government is shouldering a portion of this cost of the program, and the households only pay a certain amount. But Your Excellency, we've been in conversation, and when we realized that was a problem, we withdrew the letters, and we have released new letters that just indicate the amount for the household to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think initially, Omar, what the point was, you know, sometimes people don't appreciate where we're coming from. I think so there was an attempt to say, okay, this course costs so much. The government is going to pay so much. You're going to get loan of so much. And the household is going to pay so much. Unfortunately, many people misunderstood that and said, okay, the cost costs 600,000, that's what I'm supposed to pay. And that's what brought confusion. So I think subsequently the letters were withdrawn, and now it's only showing what the household is supposed to contribute. You have said about Naivasha that there was a problem in Naivasha, that you guys were in Naivasha, and I think there were some agreements that maybe were misrepresented. I was not aware. I was briefed by the team that was in Naivasha. It was a place to explain, for students to appreciate. Do you want to say something as the team leader who was in Naivasha? These good guys are saying you said what they did not agree.
Your Excellency, one of the issues they raised is that they wanted the MTI reviewed, and that's why we put in place the task force in which we have representatives from the Higher Education Loans Board, Universities Fund, Vice Chancellors, as well as lecturers with specialist expertise, and they have been working on that MTI. So one of the issues that should be very clear is that we do not usually use the raw scores. So if, for example, you have 9 dependents, or 5, or 2, or 3, all of these have a weight. And that weight is usually determined by a very random group. So HELP will put a group of students, lecturers, parents, members of the community, church, and they decide, how do you think this variable is important in determining the capacity of a family? And so these weights are then looked at scientifically, and in the end, all of these are put into a composite kind of variable that is determined with a mathematical model. And we have all of this. It will be published so that all the stakeholders can look at it and tell us where they think this model can be improved. So that is some of the work that we started undertaking after the Naivasha retreat.
Thank you very much. So there was some input from Naivasha on how to take this forward. The other issue that has been, who decides how much it costs? These are empirical figures. It is not somebody from the blues who says this costs so much. There is a calculation of the input into the cost. The vice chancellors here are with the leadership of the universities. They know how to determine how much which course costs. Can one of the vice chancellors help me with how you arrive at the cost of a course? Professor Odhiambo, again.
Thank you very much. When a student comes to university, say to do medicine or engineering, look at a course like Introduction to Electronic Engineering, then you'll have to put a teacher that is going to teach that course. And you'll have to compute how much you are going to pay that teacher, maybe within 45 or 50 hours. There will be a technologist, a technician. Again, you'll pay that person. There will be the need of equipment that are going to be used. You'll have to cost them. The students will go for practicum or practica. They'll go for industry experience, and the teachers will have to follow them. You have to cost all this. Of course, there are other things like the electricity and all the rest. Now, the sum total of this will inform you the cost of running that course. And that is how we get, now for that engineering, perhaps there are 15 units in a year or in a semester. So once you get all that, you have the total cost. Maybe it comes to 280, maybe it comes to 612, maybe it comes to, like it is a financial mathematician who was there, maybe it comes to around 275,000 for financial engineering. That's how you get it, and that's what now become the cost of that program. Thank you, sir.
So there is an empirical determination of these courses and how much it costs, and we just have to be realistic to it, that is what it is. There is no benefit in assuming that this course costs so much just by assumption. It has to be calculated and it has to be determined scientifically. Cluster points for private and public universities, my small sister here, Karen, said that some of the cluster points for public universities are a bit high. So sometimes you end up in a private university, which I don't know whether you applied for or you did not. Maybe you did not apply for. And therefore, you end up in a situation where you are asked to pay more because this is a private university and there is no scholarship. All you can get is a loan. So how do we determine that? Do we have anybody from COOPS who can help me answer this question, or somebody knowledgeable around there? Nobody is there. I will take it as homework. Yes, maybe my peers there can help me.
Professor Mugendi is the chair of that cluster work at the COOPS, so he can speak to the cutoff points.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Yes, I am the chair of placement committee at COOPS. And indeed, because of the way clustering is done, sometimes you might want, a student may want a course in one university, but they are not able to get it because their cut-off points are lower. And that's why that question from the concerned lady was, she said that maybe she got a C+, but then she could not be able to get appropriate courses in public universities because maybe most of those courses then that she wanted, the cluster points were higher than what her cluster point was, and therefore she ended up in a private university. But for private university, again, Your Excellency, the student must have chosen to go to those universities. They are not just placed there. There's normally a box where you tick that maybe if you don't get this course in public universities, you are also willing to go to private universities. So there is always that choice. And I think, again, if the person would really want to come to public universities, there are still courses that are available that just require the minimum university entry, but they may not be courses of the prime courses that they wanted. But anybody wanting to go to public universities and they have a C+, Your Excellency, they will not be denied because the universities are there and there are programs that are linked to take them. Thank you.
Let me also tell Karen that KRA is not the only parameter we use. So this Maasai fellow with 100 cows, and there is no provision for what is your tribe in the whole thing. So there's no place for Maasais there. So the other parameters are there. Which school did you go to? Which primary school did you go to? You also registered under the education system. Are both your parents alive? You know, there are so many other parameters that eventually determine the classification. So even though you may not have some of your details in KRA, there are other parameters that contribute to the banding. So I think that is what informs the whole setup. My friend Tarus has given us a classic example of dentistry. Dentistry is the most expensive course. I don't know why you chose the most expensive course. To make your point, I guess, that this dentistry is a course that we have, universities have said it costs 730-something thousand. So this is a course that is fairly expensive because of all the reasons that we've been told by Professor Odhiambo there, the delivery of the course. And what are we going to do to make sure that we don't lock out children from vulnerable backgrounds from this course? We have to strike a balance between teaching the course at all, because we actually run the risk, Mr. Tarus, if we continue the way we are continuing, we run the risk of not teaching that course at all, or having a half-baked dentist, because we have made him to pass exams, and yet we haven't trained him enough. So that's a balance we have to strike. And you remember when we engaged, I told you this is an area of improvement that we may consider. What about the expensive courses? How do we have a ceiling on making sure that those coming from vulnerable backgrounds have a ceiling that does not exceed what they can pay? But let me also say the following, Mr. Tarus. You also know that students in Band 1 get an upkeep of 60,000, up from 52,000. Students in Band 2 get 55,000 as upkeep. We have also raised the upkeep for all the categories, because we also know that some of these students from these vulnerable backgrounds, they sometimes contribute to their own education if they have sufficient resources coming out of the student upkeep. And these are some of the nuances that we have to think about. The trade-off we have to make is, do we continue with a model that has put our universities under very severe strain and almost collapsed our education system, or do we improve it? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. Do we continue with a system that has the potential of collapsing all our universities, the vice chancellors, you've heard them say, or do we improve it? I would suggest respectfully that we improve it. And this is the way to improve it. And this conversation is part of what will inform how to improve it. And I want to encourage you as comrades, if I may, to be part of this improvement, to be part of these suggestions on how we are going to improve this system. Whether it is students doing medicine, as Tarus has said, or engineering or nursing, we must make sure that it improves and make sure that our education does not suffer what it has suffered so far. Does the appeals work? You know, if you appeal, do you have a chance of ever getting it right? I know I have seen in the media sometimes cases of people who have asked that they were put in the wrong bands. But there are cases of some of those students who were put in the wrong bands, who have made their appeal, given the correct information, and they have been put in the correct band. Are there such cases, for example, in this hall, if we have any who may want to say their bit who are in this hall? Because I remember there was Josiah from Kisii, and he made a very passionate, are you Josiah? Okay, you wanted to say something? Just hold your horse. Or do we have any other student who made an application and was given a chance to appeal? Yes, my friend? Are you among those who appealed? Yes? Okay, give him the mic. Let's hear what his story was.
So nili-apply nikawekwa band 3, nikafanya appeal, nikawekwa band 2.
Yeah. What was the issue, for example? Were you told what the issue was?
I wasn't told, so tuliambiwa
to reapply. Yeah. And you reapplied. Who initially, how had you applied? Who had applied for you?
I applied through the cyber and I filled out the details correctly. And then during the appeal, you have to write a better reason as to why you're appealing.
And then you were reconsidered?
Yeah, I was reconsidered and placed in band 2.
So how long did it take?
Like a week.
A week? Yeah. 1 week? Okay. There are some other people who have applied. There are others who have taken in some of our suggestions, and we have seen them progress. Now, good people, I am told it is 10 p.m., 10:10, And we had time up to 9 what? What was our cutoff time? 9:15. So we are an hour late. So let me conclude by saying the following, that I have listened very carefully to, yes, my friend, you have something to say? Give him the mic.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, for giving me this opportunity to talk. So my question was about my institution there at ToK. So when you were coming to launch the S block at the Technical University of Kenya, you told us that there was land that is behind the Kenya Poly, that is the Technical University of Kenya. You told us that that land belongs to us, and nowadays I see that land is used as a parking space by some people we don't even understand. So kindly can you clarify how that land went? Because we will occupy that land as from tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chancellor, I think we have the Vice Chancellor of ToK here. Can you confirm what the situation is with that piece? Vice Chancellor.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Vice Chancellor from Technical University of Kenya. Your Excellency, you gave us that land, and we have been following the due process to get the documentation. I told my students not to occupy the land because we need to have the title deed so that we do the right thing. And I want to appreciate that, Your Excellency, my student led by my president who is here, Alex, we've been talking to them. It's true, there's a team that made a fence and they started parking there. And the students say that the president said this is our land. And we have written letters even to your office through the head of public service to that effect. And we are waiting to get the response. So kindly don't occupy. We are going to get the title deed so that we do it right in the right way.
Where is the CS for education? Is Machogu, my friend is my friend Julius here? Julius, you have an assignment. Please make sure that you talk with your colleague at the Ministry of Lands to make sure that that piece of land is, justice is done, and that my good friend doesn't have to go to occupy. And we can give them the title, and not just the title. We can actually, using our housing fund facility, we can help them put up some hostels if that is what the university wants. So I'm sorry that we have to call it a day because it is okay. Let me end with this girl. She has really put up a strong case.
All protocols observed, itikati zote zikiwa zimezingatiwa. My name is Honorable Sang Linda Chepkoech from the Strathmore Law School. And Mr. President, I must put down my book to say something. It has always been my dream to meet the president. And today, I've met you, but keep quiet, I want to say something, eh? Mr. President, when you entered this hall, I was watching your steps. And when we came in here, we could see there are seats that are white. You've worn, beginning from your coat, you've worn white, and at the end, it's white. So from far, starting point, and to the end, you are wearing all white. Mr. President, it means peace. Please, look into this new funding model. Mr. President, look into it 3 times, look into it, and ensure it favors everyone. Most of us here are from vulnerable backgrounds. We are just in some schools because of purposes and because of our mouths. Mr. President, look into it. Please, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my dear. Thank you. So I think let us let's leave it there. I know the ladies want to say something, but because of time, what maybe we could agree on a way forward. And let me suggest one, that this has been a very healthy conversation. I must say that you have enriched my thinking. You have given ideas that give a suggestion on the way forward. I value every suggestion that has been made here. Many people here have given suggestions on how we can make it better. My good friend Junior here said that let us improve on what has been there, make it better, so that our universities can move forward and all the students can look at the model positively. You have said that there are certain reconsiderations that have to be made. We have all the vice chancellors here, majority of them. We have my staff from the Ministry of Education. We have people from Higher Education Loans Board. We will take into account the issues you have raised. Beyond the funding model, you have told me about matters to do with fighting corruption. You have told me about how we create better representation for students in our universities. You have told me about all the other issues. They are very important issues to me, and I will look into those issues. Let me propose a round of applause for all those who gave wonderful suggestions. Tuwapige makofi. And to all the good guys who attended this, and forgive me those who did not have a chance to speak. I will make another occasion available for us to be able to engage on this model again. Asanteni sana. I wish you well. Take my greetings to your comrades and colleagues in your universities. And I wish you well and see you soon. Asante sana.
Why don't we put our hands together for His Excellency? Please, let's give him a round of applause. That's almost quite a number of hours right there. Your Excellency, thank you very much. I'll request that now we be upstanding as we allow